Welcome everyone to my podcast. I have Brad Hardin here with Southern Warrior Canine. He's also the former vice president of Mondioring. Brad and I know each other because I have a Lonzo's son, which is a dog that he took to Mondio Worlds. Super nice dog. So Brad and I met when I was in Oklahoma. We went out and trained with him. So that's how we know each other. Brad, tell me a little bit about your story, your background, how you got into dogs, all that good stuff.
Sure. So, as a kid, I mean, we had dogs growing up as a kid. We had Rottweilers. Um, we lived out in the country where people got robbed. Their home, we come home from school and the neighbors' houses had been robbed and stuff like that. And so we had Rottweilers that were always loose and they would bite people for real without ever needing any training. You
Nice.
and then I think it was 2005. Um, well, after the Rottweilers, I got into bulldogs and hog hunting and stuff like that, and I got real involved in the bulldog world. And then had a buddy of mine tell me about Iron Dog, and I started looking into that, and I thought that stuff was super cool. And then I think it was the summer of 2005. I went to an Ivan Balabanov seminar,
Awesome.
and he blew my mind. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just like, wow. Like, I thought like you had to be in the military or a cop to do that sort of stuff. And I was like, I don't know, mid 20s. This was early 2000s. So right after the Ivan seminar, I was like, oh, I started looking into the different dog sports and, what they were and stuff like that. And, I saw there was Mondioring, there was French Ring, there was PSA, there was Schutzen. There was a few off brand, we'll call it,
Yeah.
stuff, as well. And Mondioring just really seemed very logical. Like everything that they had and they did set up seemed very logical as far as how those skill sets on a for Mondioring cross over into the real world.
Yeah.
You know, um, and I met a group out there. I'd gone to a few different clubs when I moved to Colorado. This again was in 2005, and I ended up running into Charlie Bartholomew's club, Colorado Ring Sport,
Hmm.
and she kind of took me under her wing and taught me how to train a dog. She introduced me to a lot of really cool people. One of the I tell everybody she taught me how to train a dog. She also taught me how to wear a leg sleeve and how to teach dogs where to bite. Keith Job, though, he was one of my first coaches. When I put the suit on and started working dogs in the suit. Through Charlie and Keith, I met Isai Rodriguez, and Isai was I think he was the first American to go to the French Ring Super Selections.
Awesome.
Um, and he was a big influence in kind of what I do and how I do it in the suit, as far as how my stick work goes and how I catch dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then I ran into this crazy dude in Chicago named John Naroditsky. He was an old school Keeler method, I guess you could call it, type trainer. He considers himself a balance trainer, but a lot of other people would be like, "Oh, he's just a strict compulsion guy," but he's really not. Like he's actually quite well balanced. But he taught me a lot about like leash pressure, like um, when I would watch him take a dog that's just completely unruly and how he would handle that dog in the leash. It was literally, for me, it was like watching an artist paint a portrait of something.
Yeah.
It's like it was fascinating to watch. It was like you're watching art being performed right in the moment.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I ended up moving back to Oklahoma in 2007. And I've at that point I was traveling a whole lot. I'd go like club to club, Colorado, Texas, Illinois. I'd go up to Kansas some, and then of course here in Oklahoma, trying to get a club and stuff going here. I did a lot of traveling, working a lot of different dogs, so I got a lot of experience doing that stuff. And then 2008, I decided I was like, hey, I'm gonna try to see about becoming a PSA decoy. So I went up to a camp and certified as a PSA decoy, and then I worked a trial after that, just the one trial. But I certified as a Mondioring decoy in 2007.
Okay.
Um, And then I did the PSA decoy thing in 2008. Then 2009, I decoyed the Mondioring National Championships. Kind of since then, I've just been kind of like the primary decoy for my club and going around helping out other clubs too.
What about Mondio makes you feel like it's more practical?
My dog's never out of control. He's in control the entire time. He's relaxed, and the dog can go in and out of drive at a moment's notice. So like I can take my dogs, like I'm sure most people can too, regardless of what sport they do. But like, I look at the defensive handler exercise for Mondioring. I've taken my dog to a carnival. There's going to be crowds of people. They're going to be up close to us. They're going to be pressuring us. We're going to be moving around. We're going to have things in our hands.
Yeah,
The dog's got to stay calm, cool, and collected until the hit happens, and then it can
yeah,
bite. The amount of control that's required for Mondioring is French ring requires a lot of control too, right? But like that control, it's fascinating to me. Lonzo has his MR1. I got an MR1 on him, and that's where we competed at nationals with him. Kitty, I competed with her at level 1 and level 2 at nationals, and then I got her level 3, and then I sold her after that. Got Rocky. He's got his MR3 now. We're planning to compete with him in May at the national championships and hopefully get a spot on the world team. So
awesome.
that's what we're aiming for with him. Um, but yeah, that's what I've done in Mondial. I've competed at 3 different national championships so far, and one of those I competed with 2 dogs. 2019 was when I competed with both Kitty and Lonzo,
Oh, that's
and I
awesome.
and I podiumed both of those dogs.
Lonzo plays six, right?
Lonzo placed second at the Mondioring National Championship.
Oh,
Kitty placed third in her level. When we went to Worlds, we finished, I think it was 12th out of like 100 countries that were competing.
I don't know where I got the six from. I think that's what Megan had on the site.
Uh, so when Clement had him, Clement competed with Lonzo at the USCA National Championship and took sixth.
Oh, okay. That's probably where I'm getting that mixed up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
we bought Lonzo from Clement Dang right after he competed with that dog at the championship.
Lonzo's an impressive dog. So John and I met Lonzo. I was able to do obedience with him. It was funny for me because even when we came out to see you, Jersey was still pretty young,
Hmm.
but even at that time, I knew that Jersey was just not a very social dog. So when you gave me his dad and his dad is just working for me like we're best friends, like he's known me his whole life, just for the toy, I thought that that was really funny because Jersey would never. And I was just like, "Oh, well, I'm glad that you're social because your son isn't." I've always been really impressed with him. What was it like competing with him in a world full of mouths?
Oh, that was super cool. When we competed at the national championship in 2019, um, we were like the 5th person up for our level, and the decoy had held out every dog for at least a few seconds on the
Hmm.
first bite, which is the face attack, and he didn't hold any. He didn't like Lonzo just blasted through the stick and stapled the stick to the guy's leg. You know, and like everybody watched the German Shepherd out there because that German Shepherd was out there competing with Mows and beating the Mows.
Yeah.
And he won Decoy's Choice Award that year at that championship. Out of all the level 3 dogs that were phenomenal dogs there, he was a German Shepherd at level 1 that all the decoys thought was the best biting dog there that day.
What are the biggest differences between the ring sports?
You got French Ring. French Ring is a pattern sport like Schutzen. You're going to get out, you're going to do your jumps, then your obedience, then your bite work. You're going to do everything all at once, but your healing, all of your obedience is a pattern. It's going to be exactly the same. It's going to be on a sterile field. Everything's going to be real similar. When it comes to the bite work, the decoys are given a whole lot of leeway to, well, do what you got to do to hold the dog off, right? Make
Yeah.
them miss, pressure them with a stick, stuff like that. Um, Belgian ring is it's a lot different. if we're talking about the ring sports, my opinion, the three primary ring sports is going to be French ring, Belgian ring, and Mondioring.
Yeah.
Belgian ring it's all about environmentals and good grips and really good control, right? Um, and Mondioring is basically a mix of Belgian ring and French ring. And I know
Hmm.
that when they started the sport, it was supposed to be a crossover sport where it had all parts of different sports in it, like Schutzen and
Yeah.
KMPV stuff, and French ring and Belgian ring. And they're supposed to have taken pieces from all of that. But these days, it's basically French ring and Belgian ring put together.
Yeah.
You know, um, but I would say that the biggest differences is going to be, the programs, right? Um, in Mondio Ring, you're seeing more decoys do pivots and stuff like that, and they're giving decoys a little bit more leeway to move.
Hmm.
Versus like when in the early days when I was a decoy for trialing, like we couldn't even do pivots. It was no, you're just gonna absorb, right? And if
Yeah.
you can't catch the dog straight, then go play French ring.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
like I've seen judges like get on to people because they did pivots or something like that, and these days now they like those. Sometimes some judges will put like paint a little box in the ground and say, "Hey, you just stay inside the box," and other judges are going to be, they'll instruct the decoys what exactly the kind of what they want them to do and what they want it to look like. But especially at the championship levels, you're going to see decoys, that are look very French ring esque and Mondio ring.
Have you ever seen a Belgian ring trial in person or no?
No, I want to. Like, I want to
Yeah.
go to Belgium and see one. I want to go to Belgium and train with a few different clubs out there and check out some trials. I think that'd be super dope. The training's different, right? So like that's why the training's different. Like so with Mondio Ring, we don't want the dog being in drive the whole time performing that obedience, real flashy obedience the whole time, and that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people say, "Oh, the obedience looks so flat." Well, yeah, it's because the dog has to be out there for so long.
Yeah.
There's some exercises that we will use drive for, right? But other exercises that no, it's just an obedience thing, and you're working for food at that point, really,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but like then there's other exercises that we set up to where the exercises itself is the reward, right? Like our retrieves, we do them so much that the retrieve itself becomes the reward.
Yeah.
The sendaways, we almost always have a toy out there. The sendaway itself becomes a reward,
Hmm.
So we're able to give those dogs those rewards in the program because the exercise itself is rewarding to the dog.
I was explaining something similar. So for me, I use whistle recalls just for, for obedience and protection. And I was explaining to someone why I use them to lay over in protection because in obedience, there's already such a strong association and their condition, for heavy rewards on, the whistle recall. When I started doing call offs in the higher levels with my dogs, they were so easy because there was already so much emotion built into the whistle. So it was literally no issue. Until one day I had a trial. But things like that
That's
happen.
how it works.
Yeah. Jersey didn't call off at one of the trials for his PSA two, and he had never not called off before. Yeah, he was just being a little asshole that day.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
in Mondeo Ring, we have if you blow your whistle when the dog is within 2 meters of the
okay,
decoy, that's full points. If it's within 3 meters, you get like 80% of the points. If it's within 4 meters, you get half the points. If it's before the 4 meters, then you lose the exercise. And the thing with that and Mondeo Ring is they take your points from your flea attack and your call off and apply those points also towards your face attack and your accessories and your other bites. So in Mondeo Ring, when you go to the field, you go to the gate, you hand the deputy judge your leash and collar. Your deputy judge brings you onto the field. You put your dog in a down and you'll go introduce yourself to the judge. When you introduce yourself to the judge, you're going to tell them your name, the club you train with, the name of your dog, the level you're competing at. You're going to tell them whether you're going to do verbal or whistle recalls. And then you're going to tell them what jumps you're going to do and what heights you're going to do your jumps. So if you check in and tell them that you're going to do whistle recalls and you decide to do a verbal recall, you're going to lose your points for your recalls.
Yeah, same for us.
Or same thing if you say, hey, I'm going to do verbal recalls and then you use your whistle, then you lose all your recall points. And those
Yeah.
add up really fast.
Yeah, ours is the same way.
Yeah, so I do a whistle recall. So I do a whistle recall because it makes it very clear for the sport that I play when the dog is supposed to come back to me
Hmm.
versus when the dog should stay with the decoy,
Yeah.
right? So like the defensive handler exercise, after the dog bites, the dog has to out and guard, right? The dog doesn't just out and recall. So I say dog out, down, right? So the dog knows to stay with the decoy. Same thing with the escorting. Decoy, the dog comes, finds the decoy. I tell the decoy to step out. The escorting portion begins. Decoy makes an escape. Judge honks the horn to signal for me to tell the dog to let go. I say dog out. My dog goes back into escort, and then my dog stays with the decoy though. And then at the end of the exercise, I'll say decoy halt, decoy stops, then they honk the horn, then I whistle my dog back to me.
I think the whistles also, it's just, there's so much clarity in it. With people yelling, talking, whatever, like, I feel like sometimes dogs could tune out, voices or vocals. So it's
Yeah.
super clear.
Or on the other side of that, they go, wait, did I hear mom call me back?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then they recall early or something, and it just, for me and what I do, it just makes it so much more clear to the dog.
I agree. So when you're looking at a prospect for Mondio, what traits are you looking for?
I want a dog with good grip and good nerve. If the dog has good grip, then that says a lot about his drive and his nerve. But I need a dog that has really solid nerves and decent drive and a really good grip. I want food drive. I want chase the toy, bite the toy. Like if the puppy won't eat out of my hand when I go to evaluate it, then I know that puppy's nervous, and
Yeah.
that's a wash for me, right?
Yeah.
When a lot of times when people say, oh, my dog doesn't have food drive, that for me in my experience, that's typically more an issue of where the dog's nerve is. You know what I mean? Because if the dog's happy-go-lucky, confident, they're going to take food unless there's something health-wise going on.
What age would you watch them if they weren't showing you what you were looking for?
That's a good question. So, um, I don't put a whole lot into what a puppy is until they're at least a year old.
Yeah.
And if I would say that, like, if by a year and a half, if I'm not seeing what I like, it's a wash.
So what do you think about Vice? How is he doing?
Vice is doing really good since he's been with me. So Vice was with Sam for a long time, and when Sam went and got that dog, I was like, "Look, he's gonna be a monster. You should look at this other one. He's not quite so
So
much."
much.
And she was like, ooh, shiny.
Yeah.
I want the shiny one,
Yeah.
So, she got that one, and I told her, this is a strong dog. He's going to be a strong dog, and he just got to be a bit too much for us, and now he's with me. And we've decided we're going to play IGP with him. And not because I don't think he could do Mondioring. I just think I want to dip my toes in the Schützen world, and I think I have a dog that can be competitive there.
Yeah.
I've gone to seminars and stuff like that with some rather, like world champion level guys. And the way they put things together and the way they train things is really really similar to how I'm already doing it
Yeah.
for the Mondioring dogs. The only difference is that the procedural stuff, like in Schutzen, the procedures are different. So, like for our send away, we're going to be standing there. We can't signal the dog with a hand. We have to tell him to go, and then we have to call him back. And when
Hmm.
Schutzen, you're going to be doing out a heel, and you can give a hand signal.
Yeah.
And then you put the dog in a down when they get to the end of the field. So like things like that make it just different. I'm probably going to be hitting some few seminars this year to work on my handling skills with the dog. Well, maybe not even this year. I may do those next year because he's a good 2 years out before I think we hit the field. And when we go out to trial, he'll be ready for his 3. My goal is to do a Schutzen 1, 2, and 3 within a year, and then compete with him at the AWDF championship. See where we go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because I'm also with my youngest dog, I'm just dabbling in IGP. She's a co-own, so per her breeder contract, she wanted me to do a BH on her anyways before breeding. And I feel like so I have three PSA dogs. Jersey's training in the threes. Hopefully one day we get it. Obviously, as you I'm sure you know, there's I think now there's like 40 PSA threes, but obviously it's few and far between.
How many of
So
those are German Shepherds?
one of them, so two. So one of them actually just got it recently. Max Chardak with his Shepherd Booker. They're out in Utah. Before that, it was Joe Parks, who's a PSA judge. He got it. I don't even know. I think it was a while ago. And then I just yeah, there's only two PSA three Shepherd. Jersey training for the twos. Savvy, you met Savvy. She's my little bicolor female that I had out there. She's competing in the twos. We were so close last year. We were off by a few points because I suck at handling sometimes. Just things that I could have done to set her up for success in the surprise scenarios that I'm just a really bad competitor. Like I love training, like things are pretty well put together in training. Um and then I don't know, like when I'm out there, it's not even so much that I'm nervous, it's just like I was also pretty pregnant, so that could have been it too.
Oh
But
yeah,
the
I saw
brain
that.
cells just weren't like they just
It was
weren't
awesome.
working. Thanks. So we were literally like a point and a half away from the first leg of her two, but we didn't get.
For me, why one of the big reasons one was again I felt like I could be competitive in Schutzen with Vice. The other thing is that my wife's got a litter mate to Vice, Scully. This is her first dog she's had since we've been married. That she is training, and she's going to compete with that dog. So that was another reason, like, hey, I'll do it with you, type
Yeah,
thing, right? And then like here in Oklahoma, like where I am, there used to be a club, a USCA club right here in Norman. There's a DVG club up in Oklahoma City, but the DVG club, like they rarely get together. Bob and Sandy, who run the club, my understanding is Bob doesn't do any helper work anymore. I mean, he's an older gentleman, so you can't expect him to always do that, right? His body
yeah,
just can't handle it. Um, so I started having a lot of people contact me to help me work their dogs, and not everybody, wanted to drive up to Tulsa every weekend to have Nick and those guys work their dogs. And then there were some people that were going up there that felt like their dog was getting the work it needed better with me than up there.
yeah,
You know, um, I don't mind pushing dogs into that mean place every once in a while,
yeah,
um, and I think maybe some other people aren't quite comfortable doing that as often as I do.
yeah.
um, but yeah, so like we've got several people that are coming out to club now that like that's all they want to do is play Schutzen. And I'll help them with the bite work. We set up private lessons for the obedience, and they're responsible for tracking themselves.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
haven't even
one thing.
I haven't even started Vice's tracking. I'm like, I'll start it after I get his BH.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll get to it when I get to it. I've done a few baby tracks, and I just got frustrated because she just wasn't like walking straight. Like, yeah, I just don't have the patience, but I'm gonna have to figure it out, and so are you. We're both gonna have to
Yeah.
figure it out and do
Well,
it.
Randy's my wife's doing tracking with her dog, and she's doing pretty good with it. Like she's already doing. I think that dog will do a Schutzen one track pretty easy right now.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
so. But she's gonna do kind of like what I plan to do. Like we're gonna get the dog ready for its three, and then in 1 year, one,
Just
two,
knock
three,
it all out.
knock it all out, and then yeah, try to compete at the AWDF.
Yeah. How is Scully doing with training?
She won. Like that dog is a freaking freight train. Like she comes down, and because like the wife keeps her a little thick, um, you know, but even still, like she comes fast and she flies through the air, and she really likes to bang. She's got really good grips. She's got really nice drive. Environmentally, she's more environmentally neutral than Lonzo, or not Lonzo, but Vice. Vice gets a little weirded out by some things in the environment every once in a while.
Yeah.
Um, Scully travels a lot better than Vice does. When I travel with Vice, it takes him a couple days to kind of settle in. you know.
Yeah.
Um, Scully, like we took her to a seminar down in Dallas and, drove 4 hours down there, got her out of the truck and went right to work, you know.
Yeah. Is Vice more defensive?
He I wouldn't necessarily say defensive, but civil. Yeah, he's shown like at 9 months old, we had Anthony Stagsetter. Everybody just calls him Tony. Tony was out here and worked him when he was like 9 months old. And at 9 months old, you throw the sleeve to the side, and the dog's just focused on the helper, like I'm gonna eat you, you know.
Sounds
Uh,
like his brother.
yeah, he's he's got a big old mouthful of pearly whites, you
Yeah.
know.
What are your favorite and your least favorite behaviors to teach in obedience and in protection?
Um, Hmm. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, what don't I like in Mondioring? There's like I like training just about everything in Mondioring. Like the Little Woods is super interesting. The getting the dog to generalize, a nice calm retrieve, go out there, pick it up, bring it back, don't play with it, don't chew on it, let go of it when I ask you to. I like that. I would say like I'm not looking forward to doing tracking. But I have really enjoyed doing like man trailing in the past. And detection work with police dogs. Like I have really enjoyed doing that and watching the dogs problem solve.
Yeah.
So um, I may enjoy doing some of that later. We'll see how we start setting up our tracks and stuff like that. As far as bite work, I'd probably say the fleas. Risk for injury there is so much higher than all the other bite exercises. But uh, a lot of people have argued that maybe we should remove the fleas from Mondioring, right? And my reply is like, as much as I don't like them, I still feel like they're a necessity. And I say that because if Mondioring is a breed suitability test for Malinois, right? So if Malinois are still supposed to be like, what are they being used for? Which can be police and military work. Those dogs have to chase bad guys and bite them.
Yeah.
And I've had dogs in my own club, and I've seen lots of other dogs that struggle on the flea attacks with the decoy running away. They're like, why do I need to bite him? He's running away. You face the dog and oppose the dog with some pressure, and the dog's like, yeah, I'm coming to fight you.
Hmm.
But if you're running away, the dog's like, why?
Yeah.
you know. So I think that keeping the flea exercise in the sport is important for that reason. I love Mondioring because of all the bite exercises, though.
Yeah.
Like teaching all the different pictures that a decoy can show the dog for the accessories, or for an object guard, all the different scenarios that you can imagine, and then some for your defensive handlers exercises, um, proofing your escort to the point where you're not going to lose any points with one of the best with you can take the best decoy in the world and just work it so hard that you're not going to lose any points. Like that's super fun to me.
Yeah.
um the accessory attack, and showing the dog the different pictures the decoys are gonna show the dog. And like before I trial my dog, I know who's decoying the trial, and I will go on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, to
Do
pull
your
up what I can.
research.
Yeah, because I want to see, every decoy has their thing they do in trials. And if I want to see, usually there's two or three decoys, and I'm going to go look to see who those decoys are and see what those pictures look like on the face attack. What do they do? What do they typically do on a face attack? What do they typically do on the accessories? What does their escorts look like? And I'm going to get in the suit and I'm going to show my dog those pictures.
The creativity that some of these judges have is just amazing. And that's obviously why they're picked as judges, because they're so creative in creating these scenarios. But again, a lot of the time you could train so much and still feel underprepared for certain parts of it.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Especially when you see, like, we have dog in whites. The dog in white goes out there before all the competitors and shows the competitors what the whole routine is going to look like, right? So
yeah.
like we don't know what it's going to look like till we show up and watch that dog. And then we go out to the car and start thinking, okay, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if that happens? And then sometimes things happen in trial that you didn't think of, but you watch the competitors that were before you
Yeah, so you
either
copy them.
either yeah, well you can either go, well you can either copy them because you say, hey man, they handled that really good, or you go, I'm
Yeah.
not going to make that mistake.
Or that, yeah. It could go
You
both
know,
ways.
yeah. So like there's benefits of that, but like yeah, it's, you just don't know. And like, there's going to be, what's supposed to happen because there's a set of rules and you have to do everything within the confines of those rules, but it's like there's just the simplest things you don't think will mess with a dog, and then you find out that it really does. So where exactly are you guys? Maryland, Virginia?
We're
Where
in
where are you?
Jersey. We're in Central Jersey.
Okay, so you've got Big Apple in New York.
Okay.
Annalise has another club in New York. Then there's the New Jersey club.
Yeah, what is that
There,
club?
I think it's Fearless.
Okay. I have a client actually that we took as a board and train. He just got his brevet under that club. So I know that there is that one.
Yeah, so there's Fearless, and then you have West Penn. That's
Okay.
where I'm going Wednesday. I'm heading up there on Wednesday to train with them for a week.
Where's
Um,
that?
they're in Hadley. They are an hour east of Cleveland and an hour north of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And then you have two clubs in Pittsburgh also. You've got Paul Anthony's club and Jeremiah's club. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, so that they've got both of those clubs in Pittsburgh. Then you get down into North Carolina. You've got John Lugo and Kevin Bain. Um, Trying to think what else is out. I think as far as the East Coast goes, there's a club up in Connecticut that's training now. But yeah, there's PSA is has exploded, right?
Oh
You
yeah.
guys have clubs
Uh-huh.
and decoys and trial, like you guys have so many trials, and so many people doing trials that like you have to have cutoff, like every trials, like entries are sold out,
Yeah.
like it's completely booked. And hell, we struggled to have three we had three competitors at my trial this back in December.
Really?
Yeah, that cost me a lot of money.
It's actually it's crazy how much PSA has blown up. Um, to the point where we can't even find judges. I mean, my club, we're hosting a trial in May. It literally took so
We've struggled in Mondioring with judges too. I think we've currently got, well, I'm in the judging program now. I'm working towards becoming a judge, but I think Mahogany just became a judge. Shannon just became a judge. But before that, there was Don Lee, Ann Putnat, and Jake Schneider.
oh wow. Yes,
Yeah.
you guys are struggling worse than we are.
Yeah. So I think right now we've got like 10 or 12 people in the judging program. Um,
Okay. That'll
you
be
know,
a good
yeah.
revival.
Yeah, and so like to be in the judging program, you have to have titled a dog to Mondio Ring 3, um, and competed with that dog in a national or world championship, or titled two dogs to MR3. Um, I was going to compete with Kitty at nationals, but then COVID happened. So then I got her 3 and sold her.
Okay.
And then I got Rocky. So then I didn't qualify under that, but then they started hurting for judges, and they let me start the judging program before I got Rocky's 3, but they told me I couldn't finish it till after I got his 3. So I've got his 3 now, and I think I've got like probably 4 or 5 more trials that I have to apprentice under. I need to get some of my numbers up as far as the number of MR3s that are required to judge. And I think I've got all my international judges taken care of. I think I just need like 2 more US domestic judges to apprentice under. I think we're having more trials now with the same number of people. Versus before, we had the same number of people, but we just had fewer trials.
Yeah.
you know so like both NARA and Mondi and USMRA are probably sitting close to 350 members. I think maybe it wasn't last year, but it was the last year that I was on the board. Like they had more trials that year than they had ever before.
Oh, that's
And then
awesome.
last year there was a lot of trials too. And I'm kind of excited to see how many trials we're going to have this year. So like, last year you could probably hit a trial just about anywhere, you know, within a month,
Yeah.
you know. Um, this year, hopefully there'll still be lots of trials. My only goals is this year is to play at nationals and then try to play at worlds.
With Rocky?
Yeah, yeah. It's like Um, my good friend Todd said that you know you're not going to win a world championship your first time you go,
Yeah.
right? Like if you expect to win the first time you go, like that's just delusions of grandeur or something, right? He said, but if I can go 5 times, my odds dramatically increase.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I'm ever going to go to Worlds and win. I might, but I just want to make podium.
Yeah.
You know, like that's my goal is to be the American who's standing on the podium next to the Europeans.
Yeah, that would be. What is it like competing on a world team? And then what is your advice for someone that's looking to compete at a high level, whether it be nationals, worlds, or even just a level three? Obviously, that's, an accomplishment in itself.
Um, so the World Championships with Lonzo was super cool. I think the coolest thing about that experience was, I flew 14 hours over an ocean to a country where that's my first time leaving the continental U.S.
Oh, wow.
Right, and I get there and there's 100 different countries there, all of them playing the same sport that I play with the same set of rules that I play, and they all have the same passion for it that I have.
Yeah.
And that was like an overwhelming feeling of just like I can't even explain it. Like it's almost like I'm not going to say it was as overwhelming as when I looked at my firstborn when he was born, but it's up there with that. Like and like I had these guys from Russia and Ukraine coming up, and they had like spreadsheets on Lonzo where they had tracked everything he did and
Oh my
Shutza,
gosh.
and then they like he had like a fan club, and I was like, dude, you got a
That's so
fan club,
awesome.
and yeah, they were nice people. The seeing the different cultures and stuff like that, and one of the big things that I did that I really wanted to do when I went to Poland was going to Auschwitz, and
Oh,
that was that was uh, that was an experience, and I think anybody who ever gets the opportunity to go check that place out should, because
yeah.
it'll give you a different perspective
Yeah.
on on how America feels.
Yeah.
you know,
That's something I've always wanted to do as well. Um, I'm sure that was just a lot of emotions in that trip and specifically being there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the crazy thing about that place, you get to walk into the gas chamber,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, and you can still feel the scratches on the wall.
That's so scary. It's just walking into a mass grave and to think
Yeah,
about
how they just
what
exterminated them
happened.
like
Yeah,
rats.
what happened there. I don't even know if I would be able to emotionally handle that level of, you know, what's going on.
It
Yeah,
sucks in the moment, kind of, because there's the stress of travel and like going to a foreign country and a place where they don't speak the language that you speak and you don't understand what they're saying. And, there's all of that stress. But then after it's done, you're like, man, I'm going to do it again.
yeah,
You know, like that was fun. That was exciting, you
yeah.
know.
So, what
Um,
would your tips be or your advice for someone that wants to get there?
enjoy the race, right? Like I've talked to a few people. Some people, you've got the different personalities of people, and some people want to they like to possess things, right? Some people maybe they don't feel like they need to possess anything and they just want to be free, right? And then some people enjoy what I call the chase. Like, it's like I'm chasing that goal of earning my title. Okay, now what's next?
Yeah,
I was like, it's hard for me to enjoy. Okay, I did it. Now what's next, right? So
yeah,
like, okay, I got the one. Okay, I got the two. Okay, I got the three. Now what's next? All right, we're going to nationals. We're going to try to win that. Okay, after that, and then what? All right, we're going to try to go to worlds. We didn't win this year. Well, let's try again next year.
yeah,
And that chase is what drives me and motivates me. So I would say anybody who has any desires to, you know, go as far as they can to enjoy that race, and
yeah,
enjoy the journey, and do it with a good group of people around you. You
yeah.
know,
That's super important.
if you have a good village, you know, it takes a village, they say. And if
Yes,
you
it
have a good
does.
village, then you can build anything you want.
When you're so passionate about something and you really want to put your all into it, who you train with is so important. Um, if you're around a good group of people, I mean, you know, that's a huge part of your success. People that are knowledgeable, experienced, and then obviously just the social aspect of it, like how people are within the club, is really
Mhm.
important. One bad apple could really make the club environment a negative thing, and it's really important to surround yourself with
Yeah.
people that all align with your goals, your values. Just want to be there, because I think a lot of people don't realize. They say like, "Oh, I want to join a club. I want to join a club." The point of a club is to all help each other.
Yeah.
You're all there. You all want to try to contribute in some way or another. Obviously, no one contributes as much as the decoys. They're the ones getting beat up all day, every day. Obviously, I see John, working dogs day in and day out. Yesterday, he went to like this small event and literally worked 12-hour shifts 4 days in a row. Got home at 6 in the morning from his last shift because he's a cop, and drove an hour and a half to Pennsylvania on no sleep to work dogs all day. So, decoys are obviously putting it all out there physically. And there's just so many other ways that club members can help contribute as well. Like even, just cleaning up the field. I just did a podcast about this recently about how club members can contribute too. But it's so important for everyone in the club to be sharing these values and to want to see their club members succeed, and all, just big or small, have a part in getting them there to that point.
Yeah. So we had like a pretty big club there for a little bit, and we've experienced our own club drama and stuff like that. And I lost almost every person in my club a few years ago when me
Oh
and a
my
business
gosh.
partner. Well, yeah, I had a business partner embezzle $160,000 from me. So
Oh, well,
um,
that will
yeah,
do it.
yeah, so that sucked, but my club split apart because of that. And I basically said, "Y'all want to train with her? Go train with her. I'm not going to help you."
Yeah.
And then, the club split up. And what I have focused on with rebuilding the club is like, I'm not building a club with, I don't want to build 100-person club.
Yeah.
I want 10 people who are committed to being there and helping each other.
And motivated to continue to learn
Yeah,
and grow.
right. And that's really what I've worked hard on, like with our club. So um we have a new girl. Well, I'm not gonna say no. She's been coming around. She's been around for about a year. She does IGP with her Malinois, and she's been going down and training with other clubs and stuff like that before she met us. And um the support she got from us when she went down to compete at the Southern Regional last weekend was more than she had gotten anywhere else. We had another club member go to St. Louis and compete last weekend with his dog in Mondioring, and it was the same thing. We're all on Facebook Messenger, and we're calling each other. Hey, are you about to go yet? What's going on? Hey, good luck. We know you can do it and stuff like that. And for me, as the training director, primary decoy, president of the club, whatever you want to call it, um, when one of my club members walks off the field with that smile on their face because they know they just did really well, like that for me is more rewarding and satisfying than when I walk off the field with my own dog with a good score.
I think those are the things that separate the leaders. Um, is exactly what you just said.
That's what we work towards. We have people that come and train with us that aren't part of the club. They just, they come out, they get their dog worked and they leave. But the core of us is not going to be any more than 10, moving forward. And um, you know everything after that
Quality
is just,
over quantity.
yep, quality over quantity. I had good conversations with my friend Todd up in Pennsylvania, and he's like, man, you get more than 8 to 10 people and it's like drama just starts happening.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that happened with my club before it broke apart was like, when you're the decoy, you're out there helping everybody, you don't hear all the conversations on the sidelines.
Yeah, that's a good
You
point.
don't hear how toxic some of those, because you'll have a group of people over on one side of the field talking, about the group of people standing on the other side of the field. And like that's not an environment that I ever wanted to, encourage or shape or have around me. One of the things I think I wouldn't mind talking about is like injuries and decoys,
That's
you
a
know,
really good
and,
topic.
and like how other people handle injuries in their clubs. when their decoy gets hurt or something like that. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and I was told when I started, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Yeah.
And since starting in the last 20 years, I've had both my ankles operated on because I've torn ligaments in my ankles. I've had my right knee operated on twice now with torn ACL, MCL, MPFL, meniscus, you name it. I've had hernia surgery, I've been bitten, and had to be stitched up, I've had my teeth knocked out,
Oh
you
my
know.
gosh,
Yeah.
you've been through a lot.
Yeah, so like these things happen, and like if you're a decoy, my attitude about it has always been, hey, I signed up for this. But then on the other side of it, like if and when my dog hurts somebody, and I've had my dogs hurt people before, like I've gone out of my way to make sure that I can help them with, even if it's with just like an insurance copay or something like that, to cover any out of pocket stuff they have, or whatever. It's me helping out because I know my dog hurt them, and I would like to see that a lot more across the board with all dog sports. Like if your dog hurts somebody, be a, try to be a little bit responsible and helping that guy out, because when we decoys get hurt, there's months that we don't get to make a living.
I think that's a really good point to talk about. That's not a topic that I feel like is ever really spoken about. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Something to show appreciation and going, well, sorry about your luck, let me get the next guy.
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of like a not cool way that a lot of people treat it. Like even if it's just like, hey, you need a ride to the doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Like because after my knee surgery, there was 2 months I couldn't even drive.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, I had my wife here, and my mother-in-law lives with us too, so like I didn't have any issues with getting to the doctor for me, but like what if it happened to somebody who wasn't married, or didn't have somebody else living with them that could take him to all the doctor's appointments. I'm lucky also that my wife makes enough money to where I just have to make my truck payment.
Yeah. Right.
So, but there's other people out there that aren't that lucky,
Yeah.
and I was once that guy, like, uh, I was once the guy that, like, I had $5 in my that's why I started decoying. Here's why I started decoying. I went to Colorado. I met Charlie's Club. I started training with them for a couple months. She asked me if I was afraid of getting bit, and I was like, well, no, not really. I mean, I handled bulldogs off pigs, breaking them off. It's not really that scary to me. And she's like, well, you want to be a decoy? I was like, well, I don't know about that, you know?
Look at you
And
now.
and she told me, she goes, well, if you decoy for us, you don't have to pay anything.
So you're like, okay,
Well,
get me. I'll throw in a
I
few
had
right
I
now.
had I had $5 in my pocket and a quarter tank of gas, and I was like, "All right, sign me up."
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
But that was like the primary reason why I decided to decoy. And then of course I fell in love with it, even though it hurt like hell. But that it would, I think if the culture changed a little bit to where they were more considerate about the risk that the decoys are taking to their body, and not just their bodies, but how that affects their livelihood.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would go a long way. And I think if anybody's a decoy and you're out there training with a club and you don't feel like you're appreciated, or like, hey, if you got hurt, these guys would throw you to the side. Find a different group of people to train with. After both my ankle surgeries and my first knee surgery, like, getting cards in the mail or like some chocolates show up, like that
Yeah.
makes me feel like, okay, I am appreciated. If your decoy gets hurt, like, take care of your decoy. And again, if you guys are at a place where you feel like, hey, if I get hurt, are they going to throw me to the curb tomorrow? Then go find a different group.
I really enjoyed talking with you and getting your insight and your input on some of these things. I hope I didn't take too much of your time up. Sorry for the technical difficulties too.
No worries. I appreciate you having me on.